In the last video, I explained that using the percent of method is a lot of the times a much better option than the ratio table. See, ratio tables are great when you're dealing with numbers like 40% or 25%. But when you're trying to figure out sale problems that ask you percentages like these, the ratio table becomes something you really don't want to use because it's not, it doesn't, the solutions don't always jump out at you, okay? That's why I said the percent of method is kind of more my favorite, because I can use the percent of method pretty much the same way for all types of these percentages. Now, I'm going to take a look, we're going to take a look together at some problems that involve distance. This is 712 from 7th grade CPM. So let's look at 716. And we are going to talk about these other strategies at another time, but I'm going to show you specifically how to use ratio tables or the percent of method to solve this. So Dana is training for a bicycle race. He can ride his bike 25 miles per hour. One day he had been riding for 3/5 of an hour. He had to stop and fix a flat tire. But how many miles had he ridden when he stopped? The diagram below may be useful. Okay, yeah, there's a way of solving this with diagrams, okay? But a lot of the times the diagram is not going to be the best option because sometimes the percentages get too complicated. So we have 3/5 of an hour and we have 25 miles per hour. It's asking us how many miles. If I'm going to use the ratio table strategy, then I'm going to have two columns. One column is going to have miles. The other column is going to have hours. If I know that 25 miles per 1 hour, okay, is one piece of the ratio table, I also know that he rides 3/5 of an hour. And we're trying to see what number that would be, how many miles that would be in 3/5 of an hour, okay? Now, thinking about a ratio table, how do I go from 1 to 3/5? What do I multiply or divide by to get from 1 to 3/5? This is gonna sound kind of crazy, but all I have to do is multiply by 3/5. 1 times 3/5 equals 3/5. So the way to solve this with the ratio table is 25 times 3/5. Well, I know how to multiply fractions because we learned that in 6th grade. We have 25. I'm going to put it over 1, so I have something to multiply the denominator by. So 25 over 1 times 3 over 5 equals 25 times 3. That's 3/4, like 25 cents. 3/4 is 75 cents. So that's going to be 75 over 1 times 5 is 5. 75 over 5. Now, I might not know 75 over 5 right away in mentally, so I'll go ahead and do a little bit of long division here. I'll do 5 divided by, or 75 divided by 5. 5 goes into 7 one time. I'm just going to speed up a little bit here. 5 goes into 25 5 times. And we're all done. So 15. So the number I'm going to put here is 15. So in 3/5 of an hour, he rode 15 miles. Now, I love the ratio table because it really shows you why you multiply by 3/5, okay? You might hear from some other teachers that, oh yeah, you just multiply it by the 3/5 because that's the rate or something like that, right? I like the ratio table because you don't have to memorize like these different rules and you don't have to memorize what to do in the different situations. The ratio table just shows you exactly what's happening and it shows you why we would multiply by 3/5. Again, this is the most crucial part here. To get from 1 to 3/5, we multiply by 3/5. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to take a look at the percent of method. Now, in the percent of method, something that's kind of tricky is that you actually need a percent. And in this case, it doesn't give me a percent right away, right? I could turn 3/5 into a percent by multiplying. Remember, a percent is a fraction over 1. So I could turn 3/5 into a percent by multiplying by, well, what's 5 times what is 100? 5 times 20. So this would be a giant one of 20 over 20. So this would be 60 over 100. So it would be 60%. Yeah, I could do it like that. That's fine. But I'm not really going to use the percent of method unless I actually have a percent to work with. Okay. Usually I'm not going to start with the percent of method unless I actually have a percent. So in this case, we're actually just going to use the ratio table for that first problem. Okay. Ratio table, so important. Percent of method, so important. Got to have both of those because sometimes one tool will make more sense than the other. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to erase my work and move on to some of these problems. Oh, check it out. 90% of 25, 8% of 75, 25% of 144. Got it. So I'm definitely gonna get to use my percent of method. And honestly, looking at these numbers, they don't seem super conducive or easy to use a ratio table with, okay? So when I have 90% of 25 miles, I'm honestly probably going to just go to the percent of method, right? Especially because it's already written as percent of. So let's go ahead and use the percent of method. Let's go back to this page and I'll rewrite these so that we have a bigger workspace. 90% of 25 miles. Okay, 90% of 25 miles. A percentage is just a fraction over 100. Percentage is just a number over 100 of, I'm going to change into a multiplication sign. And then 25, I'll write here, and I'll put a 1 in the denominator so I have something to multiply the 100 by. All right, great. So now I've got 90 times 25 over 100 times 1 is just 100. 90 times 25. Well, I don't know what 90 times 25 is. So I'm going to do some quick multiplication. I know that 25 times 9 is going to be easier to work with, and then I'll just put a 0 on at the end because I'm multiplying by 90. So 25 times 90. I'll use a generic rectangle. Well, I'll do 90. That's fine. 9 times 2 is 18. Add those 2 zeros. 9 times 5 is 45. Add the 1 0. Add 1800 to 450. 2250 over 100. And like we talked about in the last video, when you're dividing a number by 100, if you don't know this, you definitely need to look this up, okay? When you're dividing any number by 100, you just move the decimal over to the left 2 places, and we will get 22.50 like that, okay? Sorry, this isn't in dollars. I almost wrote a dollar sign because that looks like dollars. Sorry, 22.5. So we have 90% of 25 miles is 22.5 miles. We solved that using the percent of method. The percent of method is an extremely important tool. So are ratio tables. Usually one of them is going to be better depending on the situation. Sometimes they'll both be about the same. But it's very important to know how to use both of them.